Hey everybody, Vicky Fitch here, your direct sales expert. I am coming to you live from sunny Southern California, and I appreciate you guys being here. Today is a crazy topic, right? Put a one in the chat box if you guys know what the topic is about. I mean, we're in crazy times. That's crazy is really the only word I can think of because it's really seriously, people have totally lost their minds and are getting so angry and polarized about this entire topic that we had to do a show on it because we got to give people a voice. We have to give them an opportunity to talk about it without feeling like they're being attacked. Now, put a 2 in the chat box if you know what I'm talking about. The attacks come when you make a post on social media, whether it doesn't matter what platform it's on, people will attack. Hey, Mike, welcome. It is preposterous, Mike. Well, I don't know which part you think is preposterous, but let's talk about this because this is going to be like a fun thing. So welcome to the broadcast. If you guys are new to the show, my name is Vicky Fitch. I am actually a social media strategist, and I wanted to help you guys understand what's going on with the situation with the president and what's been happening on these different things. It's a social media smackdown, people. That's what it is. It's a social media smackdown. And now we got to figure out who's going to win. But before we figure out who it's going to win, we got to figure out what's actually going on because there's a lot of misinformation or people that are not quite understanding what's happening. So if you are totally up to speed on the situation, put a 3 in the chat box. If not, let me help you. Hey, Brian, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here. And if you haven't hit the share button yet, guys, hit the button. Today's going to probably be a little bit of a wild ride. I know we're probably going to get some people in here who have a different opinion than what I have, which is totally fine, right? Hey, Mike, I think it is. Welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here. That they're going to have some different opinions, and I'm going to try and give you the information and let you make your own decision. But I'll obviously give you my opinion as well because that's it's my show and that's what I get to do. It's just give you my perspective. And this, like I said, it'll give us an opportunity to talk. So anybody is welcome to chime in the information that you want to inject in the situation. But remember to be respectful. Don't call people names. I mean, that's just childish and immature. If you want to say that you don't think something's right, don't call people psycho leftists or crazy conservatives. Just be respectful and talk to people and try and get your perspective across. Try and see if you can communicate effectively so people know what's happening. All right. So yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, it doesn't really matter, but within the last 72 hours, there was a big thing that happened. And put a 4 in the chat box if you know what happened with Twitter and President Trump. He had posted in there about, which I have to say, if you know me personally, I completely agree with. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with this part, but let's talk about where it came from. He said that it is ridiculous for people to be required to do mail-in voting. That Gavin Newsom, yeah, I better be careful. Mike, it's okay, man. I love you. Hey, JL, thanks for being here. That Gavin Newsom here, the governor of California, and perhaps in other states, I don't know, but I know in this particular state it's happened because he put an executive order out that he's requiring he's going to be mailing out ballots to everyone. And President Trump identified that as being ridiculous. He sent out a tweet and I don't remember his exact words. And although you may not like the words he used, what remains is that he said it's ridiculous and basically it would make a mockery of our country, that there is fraud that has been, there's lawsuits going on about some of the fraud that has happened, not necessarily in this state, but nationwide, that when ballots get mailed out just to the populace, I mean, people steal it out of mailboxes. They reprint things on their own. It's a thing called harvesting where people collect all the ballots, have people sign them. Sometimes they're buying them something or giving them cash. I mean, it's a whole bribery and weird thing that goes on. Whether you've experienced or not, it is documented and there's been lawsuits on it. And Mike says it will affect elections. Absolutely, it will affect elections. And the fact is, somebody's already saying that he posts false claims on Twitter. So that's what we call trolling, Cave Chavez. Trolling is when you keep repeating the same narrative over and over. You're not asking questions or contributing to the conversation. So if you want to actually have a conversation like an adult, let's add your narrative in. And by the way, if you guys don't know, we are streaming on 4 different platforms. And so I have all of the comments coming in together. So if you don't see those on the platform you're on, that's because they're showing up on another one. And again, I'm excited to have people with differing points of view as long as we can be respectful. So I personally believe that making people doing a mail out voting ballot is ridiculous. I do happen to vote, via mail, but that's because I've elected that way. And that's a different process. It's not just mailing out to everybody who's maybe registered, maybe not. There's a long history, and I can pop some articles in later if you guys want to see them. And thanks again, by the way, hit the share button, because like I said, it could be a bumpy ride today. Donna Leffler in the house. Welcome to the broadcast. It could be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but let's talk about the issues. So the point is that he sent the tweet out that this will make a mockery of our country, that there'll be voter fraud, and it just can't happen. We cannot allow our country to take this downward spiral. And by executive order, the people, he's claiming, and again, this isn't about Newsom, but you need to know the preface of why this whole thing started. Newsom is claiming that because of COVID, he's protecting us all by making us, by sending us our ballot. And, if we can go to Target and we can go, people can go get an abortion and they can go get pot, I think they can expect that people at a polling place can require social distancing, and that people can manage themselves with enough care that we can be responsible enough to place our vote. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that the president posted a tweet that's ridiculous. There's a lot of fraud that will go on, right? And so Twitter decided, remember to vote and vote often. There you go, Anna. Twitter decided that they were going to fact check the president. Now, I say the president, not like because he can't be fact checked, right? I say the president because, first of all, the person that's doing Twitter's fact checks is completely biased. I mean, he's very opposite of the president's views, and very clear and vocal on not liking the president or appreciating him. So unless you really practice being unbiased, it's difficult for you to deliver really good information there. And so the president's tweets were highlighted, and they said fact check, but I think there's something else, that there was evidence to support they were false claims or something like that. And when you click on it, it would go to the site of multiple things proving that that's wrong. Now, in my personal opinion, it's opinion versus opinion. The president has statistics of what he knows. And if these other sites, I didn't go look at them, but if those other sites have information, somebody could have written it. So it's still opinion versus opinion. But to choose to all of a sudden start fact checking, and you're going to fact check the president on an issue that isn't, that you can't identify, is false. There's plenty of documentation and claims that shows that it's true. And you may have some that says otherwise, but you certainly can't call it false. And so fact checking something of people's opinion puts them into a completely different light. And so we're going to dive into this. I'm just giving the preface for those of you that didn't know. And by the way, again, if you haven't hit the share button, hit the share button. If you're here, drop your name in the chat box so I can actually say hello to you. We are live streaming on 5 different platforms, and so all the comments do stream in here. I do want to address them, but I wanted to get the story out for those of you guys that are new that don't understand what's happening. Because this is, I'm telling you people, this is a social media smackdown, and who's going to win, right? The important part is the American people going to win. Are we going to win? Because what Trump is doing, hey, Tom, welcome to the broadcast. What Trump is doing is saying that you guys have crossed a line, not because he's the president, not because you're fact checking, which is, again, interesting when you're not, it's not a fact that they're calling a fact check. It's trying to put in their own narrative, or trying to adjust the information that he's delivering. So let's look at what this whole executive order he did. If you don't know, he put an executive order out today that removed the protection that social media companies have against being liable for content. So let me give it to you this way. And again, I'm just 1 or 2 more minutes. We'll have it all wrapped up. You guys will understand, and we'll get you caught up to speed, and then we can have this discussion. I see there's some questions in the comments and all kinds of stuff going on. Again, put your name in the chat box so I can say hello to you, and so we can actually have a conversation. And if you're coming in from Periscope or Twitter and you have a handle, put your name in there. I mean, some of you guys have some very interesting, butt cheeks 32 is not the best way I'd like to personally converse with you, but if you insist, I guess we can do that. So as this goes on, that President Trump says, okay, you guys have gone too far, because now what you've done, originally, the way this protection was set up when social media companies were small, is that they were in essence a bulletin board. All right. So think of it as that if you wanted to go post your notice on the bulletin board, that order said that they can't be held liable if something on that bulletin board is incorrect. If it was something that wasn't good for you or whatever, it doesn't matter, that they weren't responsible. They were basically just putting up a bulletin board. And so they were not held liable for any of that information. What the president's executive order says is that by choosing to be a fact checker, they are now putting themselves in the position of what you call either a publisher or an editor of content. An editor or a publisher of content is responsible. Think of newspapers, for instance. That's why newspapers have to get fact checked. That's why before they get printed, they must be checked, because otherwise the paper will be held what? Liable. They are liable for the content and information they post in the newspaper. Therefore, if Twitter or any social media platform, we're starting to talk about Twitter, but we're going to add in there, hey, Eric, welcome to the broadcast. Hey, Larry, thanks for being here. Calvin, welcome. And again, I don't know if you're a troll, Calvin, or if you actually want to have a conversation, but we're happy to chat with you in just a second. But when we come in calling people names, it's not, she's not calling me a name, not yet anyway. But when you come in calling people names, that doesn't show you want to have a conversation. That's like a child having a temper tantrum. So let's talk, and you're welcome to express your opinion. I mean, I'll even read them out loud as long as you're not using vulgar language. But that's not a great way to have a conversation. It's not a great way for people to think that you are actually being serious about a conversation, about your opinion. It's more like, I want somebody to hear me now, right? It's like a temper tantrum. Okay. So the bulletin board theory, right? They turn themselves into the newspaper concept with an editor. You want to fact check things, then you're going to be responsible for what things are there. And if you're responsible for what things are there, you're no longer going to get the protection that doesn't hold you liable, because you've changed your position. So this new order, the executive order, says that's not going to happen. If you're going to do that kind of stuff, if you're going to censor, because I don't know if you guys have experienced it, but I can tell you, I personally have experienced the censorship where my posts all of a sudden will get deleted. I don't know if well, I don't know if she wants me to mention her name, but she had a post. We've talked about it last week. What she did was take two newspaper articles side by side and put them next to each other. One was from California, one was from Florida. They used the same picture of the same people on the beach. And she wrote, you beach crashers, if you're gonna, I don't know, something about going coast to coast to crash the beaches, you should at least change your clothes first, because both coasts, those people in that same picture obviously were not on both coasts. So she put it side by side and said, you guys should at least change your clothes first. Facebook did this, which I'm going to get to that in 1 second, because wow, Mark Zuckerberg went out today saying Twitter doesn't, and social media companies don't have any right to fact check. And then I put a screenshot on my own phone of two items that came up as fact checked on Facebook. So seriously, Mark, what the heck? You can't have it both ways. You're talking out both sides of your mouth. You say that social media companies shouldn't fact check, and you're the one that started it. So what in the world are we talking about here? I call that backpedaling. We're backpedaling because we're going, holy crap, this is not what we wanted. They have been pushing the envelope. And like I said, if you're a conservative, which if you're not a conservative, you may not have experienced the same things, but I can tell you my content has been definitely adjusted, modified. All of a sudden it's gone. It's just completely disappeared. Articles or things that I've shared not only were gone from the platform, but they were gone from the original platform. So we can't pretend. Jim, you got to listen before you start asking those questions. You missed the whole first part, which I'll explain in a minute. But you can't pretend that you're, that this is what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of concept. So if Mark wants to come in and say we can't fact check, but yet he's putting things up on Facebook that say, false information, well, the false information was that both newspapers claimed that the exact same event happened on both sides of the country at the same time. That was the fake news, not her post exposing it. So do you guys see where I'm coming with that? Put a 3 in the chat box if you get what I'm saying. You can't call the expose of the fake news the fake news. The fake news is the fake news. Are you guys with me? I know. I get a little animated here, but I really do want to hear what you guys have to say. So as long as you guys are up to par, I'm going to go to the chat box and the questions, because I think this stuff is important. Thanks, Tom. Tom's the only one with me. I've lost the rest of you, which I'll be happy to explain in a second. Anna's with me. Woo! All right, Anna's with me. You guys, like I said, I really do appreciate it. And if you haven't hit the share button, hit the share button. Tag somebody you know will get animated in the conversation too. I saw a few of my friends here that definitely have a different perspective than I do. I'm going to go through your comments right now, but if you have questions, put them in the chat. And like I said, this is something we're trying to have a conversation. Hey, Olivera, welcome to the broadcast. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks, JL. Glad you're here. And we were talking, yes, as originally we were talking about, Trump's tweet yesterday about these mailing out all of the ballots and how that will produce fraud. And I 100% agree. We can certainly debate that, but I 100% agree. I live in a really nice neighborhood, and we have our mail stolen probably, I don't know, once or twice a month. I know other places that get it stolen a lot, and we, like I said, there's evidence of this. There's lawsuits that have been pending from things that have already been uncovered. It's not like this is just some secret society and some kind of general information. It's actual facts. Let's see. Cave Chavez says he posts false claims and gets checked by Twitter. Love it. So Cave Chavez, I know you said that before we started the conversation. So now I'm wondering if you're still here and you still believe that narrative, or you can understand the other side that we just represented. Let me know. And then you're saying false, but that was still at the same time. Donna, super glad you're here. Thanks for being here. I hope you're feeling well. Anna says, remember to vote and vote often. Mike says it will be like getting $50 gift certificate from Walmart. And I'm not sure what you're referencing that I said that. What would be like getting a 50? Oh, are you talking about what was being given to some of the people for filling out some of the false things? If you guys didn't see the post I made last week, I am getting down to the rest of the comments, guys, just so you know. If you didn't see that post last week, there was a thing from, was it the Sacramento Bee? Or California, anyway, it was from one of the newspapers, and it showed that California is not even eligible to do that kind of mailing because they have not done list maintenance. There are, if I remember correctly, there's like 500,000 people on the list that they know are dead that haven't been removed from the list. There are like 1,000 people that are supposedly 105 or over. I mean, they know that the list is no good. They also know that there's illegal immigrants on the list, which are not eligible to vote. So it's not a good idea, and it will produce all kinds of problems. So I'm completely in agreement with not sending those out, and because basically Governor Newsom took the choice away, trying to claim that it's for our benefit. And like I said a minute ago, we're allowed to go shopping, go to Walmart. We can even go to restaurants now, but we certainly can't go to a poll to vote. That just doesn't make sense. Doesn't really hold water. Calvin says, can anyone imagine a more unfit, arrogant, narcissistic, childish pseudo leader than we have? Well, Calvin, I really can. I'm not saying that President Trump is perfect. I don't think he is. I wish I could control some of his tweets myself. I wish I could help him articulate things better sometimes. But I do believe that he is doing the best he can for our nation, that what he believes is right. And honestly, I believe he's on track. I get that there's, I might do things a little bit differently, but I am in support of him. I'm sure that's going to irritate some of you guys as well. Tom, thanks for being here. Eric says it's interesting times in the social media world, isn't it though? I mean, these are crazy times. We've never experienced. I mean, my son graduated from high school yesterday. We were in a line in our car for over an hour. The gift they gave him was a mask he had to wear as they played. And this was nice. If you guys are watching from the high school, you guys did a beautiful job. Thank you so much for giving the kids something to do. Charlie, welcome. I saw a bunch of you guys pop in. I apologize. I'm trying to finish these thoughts. But then he got to walk across the stage, and I'm taking a video. Everybody's wearing masks, and it's just so surreal because this is the first time in history this kind of stuff has, had to happen. And so it is interesting times. We are living in times that it's going to be in the history books, just like 9/11 was. And I know my documentation of what I experienced is different than what I've seen written in the history books. So I think we need to document it. And I think that now that we have so much more live video and video footage, that we're going to have a different account, or we're going to have maybe a more accurate account, at least that's spread across the nation, and not one narrative from one group of people or the way they experienced it. Larry, welcome to the broadcast. Closer to slander. I think you're probably talking about what people are saying about each other. We were talking about libel, and I think you're saying that it's closer to slander. Anna says, and that's why the retractions would appear buried in page 10 of the New York Times. Exactly. So if you guys are just coming in, we talked about what this new executive order does. and that it removes the protection from those companies because they've changed themselves from what we call the bulletin board, where they're just allowing you to post on the platform, to putting themselves in a publisher or editor position, because they are now, fact checking means that you're going to be responsible for the content that's there. So they're changing their own position, and that's what they're saying. And it's only companies that are doing that, right? Like he specifically identified people that are choosing to transition themselves into that editor and publisher format. They're going to be held responsible. And like Anna said, if you do say something, that's why fact checkers, editors, and publishers, if something gets printed in the newspaper, it's wrong, people will sue you for libel, they'll sue you for slander. And that's why Anna says, and they'll print a retraction and page 10 buried in the back of page 10 in the New York Times saying, oh, we made a mistake and this is actually the truth, right? Spin doctors got to spin. You're right, Anna. This is great news. I totally agree with you, Donna. I agree, because personally, like I said, I've experienced that censorship. Calvin says typically pro-Trump posters and scopers break the rules more often than any others. Calvin, help me understand what that means, my friend. Like what? Like I'm a pro-Trumper. Like, I mean, Trump is not my favorite person in the world, but I would call myself pro-Trump. I'm pro my president for sure. So what does that mean? What rules am I breaking, and what rules do I break more often than others, if that's what you're referring to? Help me clarify so we can have that conversation. My good friend Jim Keenan in the house. Jim and I definitely are polar opposites on many things, but I absolutely adore him. How is this censorship? By placing a fact check label next to a comment. How is that censorship? Well, Jim, we already talked about it in the beginning. I know you came afterwards, and you may have another comment that you've delivered afterwards, but we've talked about, because they are no longer the bulletin board. Now they've become the publisher and the editor. And the fact is it isn't correct. I mean, we can find articles like you and I have talked about before. You can find articles that'll support a position and deny a position. I've got videotape of Fauci saying you have to wear a mask and it's ridiculous for you to wear a mask, right? So which one is right? He changed his position, he changed his perspective, details change, information change. So, we have things that change. So there's perspective, right? He had a perspective, he changed his perspective, but for him to say something and then someone fact check it, if he's saying it's a fact as a medical doctor, and somebody fact checks and says, here's 10 more people that say that that's wrong, he probably can find 9 more people that say he's right. So who's fact, right? Because it seems to be a little tricky on what's, should we wear a mask or not? I have the video of Fauci saying, wearing a mask, you people don't need to be wearing a mask. And I think this is before everything really busted loose, but he still said it. It's a videotape of him. It's going to stop a few little droplets. It's not going to stop anything that's actually coming. So it's pointless for you to wear a mask. And that I'm paraphrasing. That's not an exact quote, but if you do want the link, I'm happy to drop it in here. You can look it up yourself and find it. So the point is that when people change positions, it's still facts can sometimes be relative based on the knowledge of the person or some type of experience. So, in this particular case, there's documented voter fraud. There's absolutely 100% documented voter fraud from mailing out ballots. Maybe this very biased, which he's admits how biased he is and how much he hates President Trump, is now doing the fact checking. And let's face it, come on, the person you decide to start with is the president. I mean, it's not like they just started. They chose those particular things. Now that's political, and that's what they're saying. Honestly, they're no longer acting. And I know this is really going to piss some people off. So pull up your bootstraps, people. But they're acting as political activists, and that is true. You can see, like Zuckerberg. He came on, I mean, he basically said, yes, we're going to be doing this, and we are anybody that is pro rally, that wants to do rallies and stuff against we're going to stop that. We're going to shut it down. That is censorship. He's choosing how the people communicate with each other. He has his own platform, but he's been given opportunities to not be held liable by keeping neutral, and they're no longer being neutral. Okay, so Jim, I'm going to keep going, answer the questions, and I'm sure you probably had another reply down here. Censorship is a government cancer. I would agree with that, Mike. Thanks, Tom. Thanks. Okay, JL says that Facebook has fact-checked a number of posts of mine that are direct quotes, including videos saying they didn't happen, right? So, I mean, who's the fact checkers? I saw the list of the fact checkers and I started cracking up. I was like, those people, what? I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to go into that because I don't have the list in front of me. Eric says he's with me. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate you. Lydia's here. You got censored on my comments, right? You, if anyone deserves to talk about this. Thank you, Lydia. Yeah, I was censored. I can't even remember, but I got censored and I couldn't even comment back on the post, even though I don't even remember what it was about. I was like, it's insane. She had to send me a private message to tell me I'd been censored from the comments because I couldn't get back in there. And if you guys don't know, was it last week or the week before, I was stuck in Facebook jail and I still have absolutely no idea why. None. I got this thing that says there's suspicious activity on your account, not telling me what it was, never updating me on what it was, and then asking me to log in, asking me my password. I went through it. Then it asked me for a picture of myself from my camera roll. Now, what if I wasn't even on my camera? I mean, what if I wasn't even on my phone? I guess it knows, right? Big brother knows. And I couldn't take a picture of myself. I had to find one on my camera roll. I only had one picture. I had dumped my pictures. I got lots of pictures of my kids, but we've been home for 2 months. I had one picture of myself when at a ice cream shop that had opened and with the mask on. That was it. And I was in Facebook. I could not get out of Facebook jail. I couldn't comment when you went to look for me as a person. I didn't even show up. If you had me already in a messenger chat, it says this person is not accepting messages or cannot receive messages at this time. And my picture was gone. All traces of me were wiped off of Facebook. Why? If you have suspicious activity in the past, they send me a password. I have my double authentication. They send me the thing. I put the code in and I'm back. Not this time. This time, for 3 days, I wasn't able to get on, and I had to send a picture of myself from my camera roll and wait while someone decided whether or not it was me. So I started posting the same pictures on all the other social media platforms, tagging Facebook, saying, it's me. That's really weird what you guys are doing. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So anyway, I'm getting off a little on a little tangent there, but you got to understand it is happening. So just because it hasn't happened to you doesn't mean it isn't happening. So we have to be aware that it is happening. Okay. Let's see. Anna says, hey, David, Adam, you'd appreciate this convo. I know. Is Adam Nally in here? Adam's been getting censored a lot lately. Nick wants to know if I can help him. I don't know, Nick, what do you need help with? Florida is not that bad, but you folks in California have been hammered. We have been getting pummeled for sure. And I don't want to go into it this time, but I'll probably do another one later this week because honestly, California, we are being hammered. Let's see. Donna says, right, like he needs to protect us from ourselves. Right. And I'm sure she's talking about Newsom. Governor Newsom, honestly, in my personal opinion, has gone off the deep end. I mean, like I said, he's literally, how can you say that we can go, I can go to Home Depot. I could go to Walmart. I can go into restaurants now, but I can't go to the polls to vote. That is not the same thing as giving me the option. We already have the option of absentee ballots. We've had it forever. I do it all the time because I never know if I'm going to be traveling when things happen and I don't want to miss the opportunity. So we already have the option. He took it away. He says we can't go to the polls. We are all getting these. This is an executive order. That's dictatorship. That is not that's not what this country is about, and it's not what this state is about. I mean, we can, if you can't trust us to socially distance, then we have bigger problems. We really do. And spend the millions of dollars that you were going to spend mailing all that stuff out, because you think about it, that's at least $1 a person. And I know in Southern California we got 20 million people. So then we also got Northern California. So what is there, 43 million people or something in California? That's a minimum of $43 million. Open some extra polling stations, add another staff person if you want to make sure to babysit us. But seriously, this is somebody, you guys have to tell me, you don't smell anything wrong with that? I mean, that's just weird. It's not like we're all supposed to stay in. We're allowed out now, but not to the polling stations. That's not to the polling stations because we're bad or something. JL says, last week, Dr. Fauci and the New England Journal of Medicine both said masks are only virtue shaming, that they aren't effective. Okay, so should we fact check that? We could fact check that against himself. So, but this is what I'm saying, that the platform, either has to stay neutral or become the editor and the publisher and then take responsibility. So that's really where the executive order came in. Okay, Jay says Trump just gave Twitter the perfect excuse for them to delete his account. I don't think so, Jay, because I mean, then they have room and heat for, well, let's not, I don't even want to go into that because that's a whole new thing. They didn't. He, as the president, did something. He didn't do anything on Twitter. He didn't do anything to anyone. Remember, even though the president is a person, it's still a separate entity, right? So that entity of POTUS, the POTUS didn't do anything. Donald Trump did POTUS is the one that did this, nothing against Twitter. Donald Trump is the one they're angry at. And so, like, imagine, that's why I said this is a social media smackdown. And like I said, Zuckerberg's right in the middle of it too by saying, we shouldn't be fact checking. I mean, I literally have that clip here. If anybody wants to see it, it's like, I just watched it and I was like, we shouldn't be fact checking. You are fact checking. Again, like I said, it's my phone's right there, but I literally have a screenshot of fact check. So let's not pretend. Okay, going here. Scarborough can sue them for letting Trump harass him on their site. Well, no. If they end up, I don't think you can retroactively do that, Jay. I think where you're going with it is that if they are, I don't know, because I'd have to think about that a little bit more. And maybe we can talk about that. I don't think so. It's retroactive and they can't sue. Scarborough could sue, but Twitter can't do anything about it. Scarborough can sue them for letting Trump harass them on their site. No, because right now they're not liable for anything. They could try and sue Trump, but they couldn't sue Twitter. But now they could. Is that what you're saying? Now, I don't think they can do it retroactively, but if that happened today, and they don't do something about it, and that this, because of this executive order, that's what I said, the slippery slope. People are going to start rolling down at any minute. Let's see. You're suggesting that facts aren't facts. No, Jim, I know what you're saying, but do we not call Fauci's information a fact? Wear a mask. Fact. It's stupid to wear a mask. So which fact? So there's two facts. They're just opinion facts. I mean, I don't know what to say. And okay, I'm going to finish reading. Before I go on into that, let me finish reading what he actually said. Just because I can find information that says the earth is flat doesn't mean the earth is not flat. There are facts. Okay, but Jim, there are facts. Okay, so let's be specific, because Jim and I we have difficulty sometimes when we're talking. Let's get into the facts. Just quickly, the fact, there is factual evidence of voter tampering and fraud when ballots are mailed out. Okay, that's a fact. Now, do I have that here? No, but I know anybody could go grab a link and look it up. There's lawsuits that are pending. They've found this. I mean, we all know, hanging chads. There's all kinds of stuff that I mean, I was not okay. The hanging chads was just a comment to make light of a subject that we know there's issues with voting in the past, not because it has anything to do with this one, but it is a fact. There are lawsuits pending. There's trials have been done. People have been indicted. It's a fact. So what the Twitter is fact checking, they're creating their own narrative on something that we know is a fact. Now, can they find an article that says it isn't true? Perhaps, but you can't really refute the fact that there is evidence and that people have been tried for it. So help me understand that part, where you want to go with that. Are you mad at Fauci for adjusting to scientific discoveries? Jay, I'm not mad at anybody. I think if you watch the interview with him and his cavalier addressing and saying that absolutely masks don't do anything, it seems like that's something, as a medical doctor and someone who's been in this position for that many years and been running so many different facilities, a mask, whether or not a mask is going to protect you, seems like kind of maybe 101 for him. I might not know, but even me, I'm not a scientist, but I can tell, I'm a licensed manicurist, and sometimes we wear masks, when we're drilling nails and stuff like that. The stuff still gets in. The powder still slides in sometimes. So I can tell you from a layman's perspective that I know that it certainly isn't blocking out micro particles, but will it help if somebody sneezes, and will it stop it? I think it's a barrier, but I'm not the doctor, but that's something that's kind of well, from what I think what I've heard it described as, that's microbiology 101, that you know what it is and isn't going to do. Okay, so I don't know if that answered it, but I'm not mad at Fauci, so I don't know exactly what that meant. JL says acting as political activists, indeed, spot on. Yeah, I agree. I thought that's exactly what's kind of been happening. Let's see. Sorry, it went up to a bunch of comments. Let's see. I'm trying to go in order so I don't miss anybody. Voter fraud is minuscule and bipartisan if it enfranchises more people. What? I don't know what you mean. Jay, I don't know what you mean, because you can't actually. Are you trying to say if they mail out the votes, it'll affect both sides equally? Because that's no. And even if that was true, that you can't use that as your logic to remove the rights of the people, that they don't get to vote. They can do other stuff, but you cannot go to the polling station. I mean, it's getting more and more absurd as we open up more and more of the state. But he made the executive order, I think it was 30 days ago. Before, he didn't, it's the election's not until November. Making that executive order so far in advance, that also has to put a red flag up. I mean, why? Why would you need to do that? I know you need a little bit of time for printing and all that kind of stuff, but come on, something smells fishy here. All right. It vote by mail enfranchises more people. It's a net positive. Jay, there's a ton of people that are on there that aren't even alive. So who's going to get their vote, their ballot, and what are they going to do with it? If you think they're just going to throw it in the trash, if they have ulterior motives, then I think that you're probably wrong. And a lot of, and whether or not you agree with it or not, but illegal immigrants are not allowed to vote. That's the way it is. Now, if Newsom had his way, they would. I mean, you guys know he's paying them California taxpayers money. He's paying them stimulus money right now. You might think that's okay. Now, I got to clarify this, because somebody said something to me the other day and said, I'm human and I want to treat people respectfully. I think there are many churches and organizations that would feed them and clothe them, paying them money to be here illegally. I mean, can you imagine going to another country, having this outbreak, and having them pay you because you were there illegally? Not that you were visiting, but you were there illegally. You weren't supposed to be there. And they said, oh, it's okay. Here, we're going to pay you to stay. We'll pay you to hang out for a while. And somebody said, well, they can't get back to Mexico. The border to Mexico, and this is going to open up a whole new can of worms, but the border to Mexico going out was not closed to the best of my recollection. Now, I could be wrong, so don't be sending me no hate mail. Let's just correct it. If I'm wrong, send me an article and show me where I'm wrong. But it's coming in. That was the problem. But I don't know if you guys know this, but Governor Newsom has now airlifted in a bunch of COVID patients into Riverside General Hospital, or Riverside Memorial Hospital, from Mexico on the taxpayers' dollar. Now, we're trying to get our COVID numbers down, and I know we've gone off onto a new subject, but this is really important. We're trying to get our COVID numbers down. Why are you flying in COVID patients? Now, helping other nations, totally up for that, okay? Sending ventilators there, usually when you're aiding another country, you send people there. You don't bring sick people here. That kind of logic just blows my mind. It blows my mind. And I'm paying for it. Me as a taxpayer, if you live in California as a taxpayer, and actually the federal funds, because who knows what Governor Newsom's doing with those, but this is a whole nother topic. But guys, when something smells this bad, it's not just one thing, but it keeps going. There's a problem, okay? And the same kind of happens if you don't think conservatives are being censored, you're wrong. Try being a conservative. You'll see what happens. Okay. Trump is being misguided by people he trusts who think they know what they're doing because he doesn't. Mike, that may very well be true, right? I think that people are guiding, and if it's not your area of expertise and you trust somebody, that's what you got to do. If I have to have brain surgery, I'm not going to argue with the brain surgeon that's been, that's one of the top brain surgeons in the world and say, I don't think you're right. I mean, because I don't know Jack Diddley. So I'm going to have to trust that person. So I think that you're probably right, but it's like they're flip-flopping back and forth. So it must be mind-boggling. And how in the world can you be the president of a country when the people that you have that are supposed to be guiding and directing you change their mind on a regular basis? I don't know. Yes, and Asia, Facebook did that to me. It was crazy. Jay says, what is worse, Twitter adding context to the government acting Soviet and controlling media? Wait, what is worse, Twitter adding context or the government acting Soviet and controlling media? Aren't those the same? Isn't that, I don't know, is that what you're saying, Jake? Because I think you've been on the other side of the argument, but that's what I'm hearing from that. Twitter adding context, which, where they're trying to suggest something that's in, that's controversial for sure, and certainly not specific, or the government acting Soviet and controlling media. Because the media is certainly acting however they want. They're planning their own narrative for sure. I mean, in my opinion. And as a matter of fact, if you guys haven't seen it, and I don't want to post it on Facebook. It is I believe it's the House Congressional. I think it's the congressional meeting, and the person. It's a video, right, of what happened in this hearing, a congressional hearing, and the witness they have is a hardcore liberal, and they actually ask him that, right? You're not a conservative. He goes, oh no, I'm not. I voted for Hillary and I did this and I did that. And so he plants his position to let you guys know that he is not a Donald Trump fan. He's never voted for Trump and he won't vote for Trump. But he's a scientist, and it actually talks about what social media and what these big firms have done and how they are actually they are definitely swinging elections. They have the ability to do that by sending a reminder. For instance, if they sent a reminder to only the Democrats to remind them to go vote, how that would swing. And he talks about, he says, the fact that I'm an American trumps the fact that I am, that I'm a liberal. And because I think people, this is facts, and people need to know the truth. So that it's an extremely telling thing. And if you guys want it, you can send me a message, because I'm sure it's going to get taken down as soon as they find out where it is. That's why I don't want to post it on social media, because as soon as we do, it's gone, and it'll be gone off the platform that's on too. Anyway, should I put a picture of my cat as my profile? See if Facebook notices. That's a good question, Melanie. Though, that they have already got that's how they know when they send you things that says, I think this is you in the photo. It's like, it's a little scary. It's kind of like, oh, that's so nice. Thank you. And then you're like, ooh, you can only see my eyeballs, but they know that it's me in the background. So, their facial recognition software is really good, I guess is my point. So my eyes are kind of, they are what they are, my hairline. So, they, even with the mask on, they knew it was me. They just chose to leave me in limbo land. Let's see, Anna, I have seen Dr. Adam tonight, yet he's a busy man. He'll get to see it on the replay. Absolutely. You're probably right, Anna. First Amendment means nothing to Newsom. You know what? I have to agree with you, JL. He doesn't seem to really regard that in the way that many of us wish he would. Put the voting booths at Walmart. Melanie, what a great idea. You know what? Honestly, isn't that a fabulous idea? If we can go to Walmart and they trust Walmart, why can't they just put the voting booths in every Walmart? I think you're brilliant. Melanie, you're brilliant. Mike says, you go, lady. Thank you, Mike. I hear you, Vicki. Western New York State is still in lockdown week 11. Yeah, Cuomo seems to, him and Newsom, I think they're kind of buddies. And I'm just going to stir it up a little, because you guys know that it's really important to me. But if you don't know about Newsom and what I call the masquerade, the MASK raid, then you should find out about his $1 billion cash infusion to China, which is factual. He doesn't deny it. I got plenty of articles. So it's a fact. He admits it. And what happened to the money and where it is and what's happening and why he paid $4.60 a mask instead of 79 cents a mask. Because he's like, well, some of them were going for $8 when I made that deal. Come on, people. And he made it with in China instead of when there's Honeywell is less than 8 hours from Sacramento. And yet he decides to order them from China. But don't get me started on that, because that, again, that's a cash infusion to someone else's economy when ours is struggling incredibly right now. We're in the middle of a global pandemic, and you choose to purchase overinflated, like 4 times the cost of the masks that we can get here that are certified for a non-certified company that has an issue and a history of making products that don't pass inspection. That's just, anyway. Okay. Trump is not conservative. Okay. Twitter executive order is communism. Yeah. Okay, Jay. Jay, I don't know. you don't seem to be having a conversation here, but really, Trump is pretty conservative. And it's not communism to say, if you want to have the benefit of not being held liable, then you have to be a bulletin board letting people post. If you want the control of editing or publishing the content and being in control of what the narrative is, then you are a publisher and an editor, and there you can be held liable. It's not communism. It's just, it is what it is. Pick. That's what they're saying. Twitter, pick. You can do it if you want, but then you're not getting the protection. Okay. So, and I mean, come on, that makes sense, right? That would be like a newspaper that could go write an article about you, Jay, and say, Jay is a left wing crazy nut job that did this and that and robbed a bank and what. And then, but they're allowed to, because you can't sue them, because that's what happens right now. You can't sue Twitter for anything that happens because they are not held liable. They are a bulletin board. So you can't sue the bulletin board. But but what you're saying is it's okay if people do that. And anyway, so do you get my point? Maybe, hopefully I made that clear in an analogy that made sense. Time Bandit says, I'm shadow banned everywhere. See, I'm so sorry to hear that. Are you on one side or the other of the political arena? Are you on the conservative side? Are you doing content that they're finding offensive? What is it that's got you shadow banned? Zuckerberg is a worm. I'm not gonna comment on that. Yeah, Jim, but Columbus was right. There you go. Mike says Columbus is right because we were talking about the world being flat or round. Hanging Chad, blast from the past, right, Anna? Joe Roberts says masks are stupid. They take 60% of your oxygen level and it tears down your immune system. You know, many doctors that I talked to have said that. As a matter of fact, Dr. Adam Nally, who's on here, put some reports up the other day about how many people in his office are coming. I think it's called hypoxia, where, and I could have the name wrong, so don't condemn me. But, you know, when you keep breathing in your own carbon dioxide, it creates a problem, right? And I know two kids died in China because they have to wear their masks outside. See, I've never got the wear your mask outside thing. That's ludicrous. Now, if you're in a crowd, that's one thing. But if you're hiking or whatever in LA County, you have to wear a mask outside everywhere you go, supposedly. Now, I don't know if they changed that in the last week, but I don't think so, because people were freaking out about it, saying, what? So now when we're outside, we have to wear a mask. So not in San Bernardino County where I live, but that's crazy. It was getting hot. Like I was wearing them when we'd take our nightly walks, and I started feeling like I was going to hyperventilate because it was so hot outside. So I would take it off if we came around. We live in a big area and there's nobody really around. If somebody came around, I'd put my mask on, to honor them and to be kind. But anyway, outside, I don't quite get that. Let's see. If mail voting enfranchises 3 million more people, but leads to 200 frauds, it's still a positive. Okay. So, but it's not, Jay. It's, as a matter of fact, like I said, I think I'm going to say, let's just say there's a million frauds, right? Or a million. There's 500,000 people on the list that they know are dead. Okay, over 500,000. And like I said, if you guys want the article, tag me at the end. I'll try and pop it in there for you. But there's over 500,000 people they know are dead, and they have not cleaned the list. So the people, that's opening 500,000 votes for people to just grab those envelopes, hand them to someone else, get paid to do it, or whatever else. It doesn't make sense. If we were all stuck in bunkers and we got mail delivered by drones, I don't know. I guess you could try and say that if there was no other option, at least you'd have an argument to have a discussion. We have an option, and I think Melanie nailed it on the head. Let's go to Walmart. Put the polling stations in Walmart, since we're allowed in Walmart and Target, Costco, Sam's Club. Put the polling stations there. Then you already trust them, apparently. So put them there. Really put them there. Melanie, honestly, I think that was brilliant. We should tweet that out to Trump. Let's see. Can't go to church, right? And we can't vote. We can't go to church. We can't vote. I know it's simplified, but I just read an article, and I think I have this one open, so I can actually drop the link in here for you guys, that a judge was it New Jersey? I don't remember where it's at. Hold on. Is this one it? Here it is. Judge rule against the stay-home order, said people are not being governed; they're being ruled, right? And one of the quotes here, I'm going to drop this link so you guys can actually see it. I know there's more comments. I'm afraid to drop this link because I know then the comments roll up. So in a minute, I'll give it to you. I'm just going to tell you what it says and then I'll drop it in there. This is what he wrote. Since the inception of this insanity, the following regulations, rules, and consequences have occurred. I won't get COVID if I get an abortion, but I will get COVID if I get a colonoscopy. Selling pot is essential, but selling goods and services at a family-owned business is not. Pot wasn't even legal, and pot dispensaries didn't even exist in this state until 5 months ago. And in that 5 months, they have become essential, but a family-owned business in existence for 5 generations is not. A family of 6 can pile in their car and drive to Carlisle Lake without contracting COVID. But if they all get in the same boat, they will. We are told that kids rarely contract the virus and sunlight kills it, but summer youth programs, sports programs are canceled. 4 people can drive to the golf course and not get COVID, but if they play in a foursome, they will. If I go to Walmart, I won't get COVID, but if I go to church, I will. Murderers are released, and remember, this is coming from a judge, you guys. Murderers are released from custody while small business owners are threatened with arrest if they have the audacity to attempt to feed their families. These are just a few of the examples of rules, regulations, and consequences that are arbitrary, capricious, and completely devoid of anything even remotely approaching common sense. That was the judge, what's his name? Sorry, McHaney, Judge McHaney. So anyway, there's more to it, and I'm going to drop it here in just a minute because I want you guys to have it, but I want to get these comments because there's a lot of comments here, and if I do that, I might not be able to get back to these. Let's see. It's crazy. Yes, Uber it is. California's gone around the bend. I'll say, Dave, I completely agree with you there. Newsom has the brains of an oceanic sponge. All right, Mike. I think that might be, no, I was going to be rude. Never mind. Your governor makes my governor look good. I hear you, Melanie. Debbie says, my brother uses my address for mail, but he lives in Arizona. I would get a ballot for him if Newsom sends them out and can vote how I want and his name if I choose to. Debbie, thank you for doing that because that's exactly what we're talking about. I know you and I know you wouldn't do that, but that's exactly it. That's exactly the problem. Voter fraud is easy and real via mail. I'm just one household. Debbie, that's an excellent point. Ozzy says she can't stand wearing the masks. It's honestly, they make me feel, I'm not claustrophobic, but I feel claustrophobic when I'm in them when it gets warm. If it's cold, I'm okay. The institutions that got us to the prosperity we all enjoy, while not perfect, need to be preserved. Absolutely, Dave. Absolutely. You're wrong about practically everything, but you're fun and friendly. Well, thank you, Jay. I disagree with you that I'm wrong on practically everything, but I do agree with you that I'm fun and friendly. JL says I'm spot on. Donna says the people running the social media platforms actually have a huge responsibility. So many people on here. They need to stop pissing people off. And like I said, if you're a bulletin board, they're not pissed off at you. But when you start deciding to censor and tell people what they can and can't do, and like I said, with Priscilla's post where it was 2 news articles from 2 newspapers, and they posted her article with that grayed out box that said this is fake news. It wasn't fake news. Obviously, the original articles were fake news, but she was exposing the fake news. So you can't call the expose fake. Trump never cared about Twitter before, but they checked him once. It's a personal vendetta. Yeah, Jay, not true. You know, I get that you could see it that way, and I get that he could get pissed off because, I mean, he certainly could. But the Democrats are really angry at the social media platforms as well. They are, some of this, I don't know that it's an even distribution, but there are Democrats that they've been pushing for this legislation for a long time. And yeah, you have to post, you're going to have to tell me at the end if you want that link privately, because I'm not going to post it on Facebook, the one of the congressional hearing, because, it could be gone by now. I don't know, but it's really telling. It's a fantastic thing. Got to run. Bye, Jay. Have a really, really great day. Let's see. I only wear a mask when I absolutely have to. Yeah, I'm with you, Melanie. JL says, love that judge. He's from downstate Illinois. There you go. And destroyed our governor, Pritzker. finally blinked today and is allowing churches to open. Woo! Was scared of the Supreme Court demand he comment on his blockage of our rights. There you go. And yeah, that's right, Jail. You are in Illinois. Donna says, while playing tennis, you're not supposed to touch your opponent's balls. Even the people running USTA were laughing while talking about it. So they have to throw the ball. What, are you supposed to wear gloves? And then the glove gets contaminated. So when it comes, so when it's on the ground, what? Oh, can't touch it. Got to get a new one. Yeah. Okay. We need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid, right, Mike? I hear you. Anna says, I remember reading that one and laughing too. I don't know which one you're referring to. Let's see. Nothing wrong with fact checking. Nobody lies right. Nobody lies right. I don't know what that means, Jill. Nobody lies right. You mean there's, I don't know what you mean, sweetie. There is nothing wrong with fact checking, but Twitter and the social media platforms aren't allowed to do it if they want to keep their protections, because then they're putting themselves in a different position. Here's the article from the governor that I just told you about. I just posted in there. But they can't do it if they want to hold that protection. When social media platforms originally came out, they gave them, like I said, as we talked about in the beginning, some of you guys probably came in later, that they're like a bulletin board, right? And so you can put information up and they're not required to check it or verify it. But if they want to check and verify it, then they've changed their position to an editor or publisher, which makes them liable. They're liable for slander. They're liable for what things are written. And so they have to pick. They have to pick one way or the other. You can't have it both ways. And that's what the executive order was about today. And honestly, I think it was a great call. I would honestly still think it was a great call if it was the opposite way. If it was the Republican, the Democrats or the liberals, doing something. If the Republicans were making some, egregious thing where they were taking advantage of things, I'm not party driven. I'm principle driven. And so I object to the principles when things are done that are wrong or unjust, whichever word's actually accurate. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, if there's more questions, you guys pop them in the chat box. We've been going almost an hour now. I'm happy to answer some additional questions. If you haven't hit the share button, hit the share, because we want other people to see this too. There's two sides to everything, but we need to understand the basis behind it. Hey, Sarah, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for all the hearts, Melanie. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys being here. So we need to remember that it's not, people are calling this a Trump temper tantrum. I don't call that a temper tantrum. That is censorship, and it's wrong, right? If you're going to censor, then you have to be responsible. If you don't want to censor, then you don't have to be responsible. I mean, it's kind of simple. It's like, if I was going to make an example that might not have been accurate, so I better think about that one. I was going to say, never mind, because it wasn't going to be good, but you have to accept responsibility for your actions. You don't get to have, a special rule for you for not doing something and then do that stuff and then expect a special rule. I mean, it's like telling your kids, here's the rules for you to get your allowance, and they don't do it and you give them the allowance anyway. They're never going to learn. They're not going to change because they're getting the reward anyway. So they have to feel the consequence, right? That's why most of you don't speed as often, because there's a consequence. If there was no consequence, you'd probably ignore it and just keep running through. Thank you, Tom. Said a great show tonight. Mike says choice is made by people that have power over people that do not. Man, I got it. Choice is made by people that have power over people that do not. That is a scary thing, Mike. That's kind of a slippery slope there that you're stating. I got to think about it. I have to ponder that one for a minute and see if I agree or not, because it's like making me think hard. It's hurting. You're hurting my brain, man. You're hurting my brain. Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments? I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you found tonight. Can you guys let's put a 5 in the chat box if you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining. I'll take any of those. Helpful, informative, or entertaining. Because that's what we want to deliver a message. And again, I hope you felt like, I've always told you guys, I have an opinion and I'm going to give you my opinion, but I'm not going to discount yours. I'm just going to articulate my own. And if you have information, I promise you, if you have information that's valid and just, we can talk about it. I'm not opposed to changing my opinion. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't have a problem with that, right? Thank you. Thanks, Ciro. Thanks, Ciro. I appreciate that. I said awesome subject. Thanks, Anna, Melanie, Debbie, Donna, Mike, that's why I'm here. That's to make my brain hurt, Mike. Thanks a lot, my friend. You guys, there's so much more to stuff. 5, one of each. Thank you so much, my friend. That there's so much more to political things and political agendas. And I think a lot of people are afraid to participate in conversations because they're afraid that they're going to get blackballed or insulted. When people come in here and say, call people names, whether it's calling me names or Trump names or you names, or that doesn't help us, right? You can have your opinion. You can have a strong opinion. I think Jim left, but Jim Keenan and I, man, we go back. We go back and forth and stuff all the time. We completely disagree. I have a hard time seeing his position sometimes, but I still respect it. It's still his, and he tries really hard to articulate the way he feels. And I do the same thing. So, Donna, thank you so much. Donna said you're always very kind. I appreciate that. Thank you, Debbie. Melanie said I was very edutaining. That's my goal, girlfriend. That we always want to be respectful. And if you're choosing, like on the Trump thing today when he was making the announcement, I made a comment and oh my gosh, this girl, I don't know, her name's Ara or something. Man, this woman, I don't think she has, or I think she's a woman. I don't know. It didn't have a picture of her there. It was I don't know if it was a symbol or what it was, but she just kept going at me about how stupid I am and how uneducated and, this whole series of things. And I said, well, you're very articulate and your explanations are excellent. So thank you so much and have a great day. Because you can't, and this, I'm not insulting that person, but I'm going to say something, that I used to hear all the time, is that you can't have a battle of wits with an unarmed person. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but if people can't use adjectives or they can't actually describe or articulate what they're trying to say, even if they have to ask questions, sometimes I will get, like, I don't know. I don't know if this is the right word or whatever, but I'll at least try. And someone who really wants to hear, they'll try and work with it and say, did you mean this or this? And we can work it out, even if we disagree. But if you come in throwing insults at people, it's silliness. And this woman on Twitter the other day, it was so funny because she wrote about how Republicans, she wrote the word right, you Republicans think you're right, WRITE. But it's really, Republicans are uneducated idiots and Democrats are the one, that pay that I don't know, cheat in school or whatever. And Democrats are the ones that pay for their education. Right. And I wrote, it's really odd because we weren't even talking about education. It's really odd that you chose to talk about education in this particular thing. Of course, she spelled 2 words wrong and used the wrong context. And I just put #irony, right? Because that was it was a little bit of sarcasm, but I honestly, my first inclination was that she would look up the word irony and then understand that she spelled things wrong. And so she hurt herself because she tried to disrespect me. If she would have just been trying to talk, then the rest of the people in the chat wouldn't have thought poorly of her, right? But because she was trying to insult and she wasn't able to insult with the correct vernacular and correct spellings, she looked foolish. And so what happens there is you dilute your own position when you attack people, right? Because you can try and articulate it and spell things wrong and whatever, but be open to having a conversation. And true people that want to have a conversation aren't going to judge you. The rest of the world will judge all of your mistakes. And so, try and be nice. Just try and be nice and say, because I could if I spelled something wrong, I'd, fat thumb syndrome or whatever. Sometimes I'll type things and, autocorrect, they'll change things. And oh my gosh, I've had some real doozies of like, oh, I did not mean to say that. That is not what I was saying. But just remember that. Be nice. Be nice to people. You can have your own opinion. You don't have to hate other people for disagreeing with you. You don't have to call them names. You don't have to be a bandwagon jumper and to feel connected with the other people that are bagging on people. Be you. Recognize your own value. Ask questions if you don't know and learn. And then have your own opinion, but always be open to listening to other facts and information so you can, educate yourself and learn. Let's see. His wife is tripping. I'm not sure who we're talking about. Off topic, but your hair looks great. Oh, Debbie, you're so You're awesome, girl. Thank you. We need to text in complete sentences. I do text in complete sentences. My kids are like, that drives them nuts. It's very distressing when Trump tweets false information to the American people. You know, is it JL Jilly? I'm gonna call you Jill. You can let me know if your name's something different. But I don't think that's what's happening. Now, has he before? It's possible, but this certainly wasn't. I mean, what he said is true. The way he says things can be very offensive and brazen and annoying. I'm not even going to doubt that, or not going to debate that, because it definitely can be. But I don't think that that's what happened. But when you're fact checking things with alternate facts that aren't really facts, so who's right? I mean, if that's what you're really believing, then who's right there? Is it okay for them to give a different perspective with their own facts when he has facts that are from the federal government? I mean, this particular thing, I mean, he has a lot of information at his fingertips. It's not like some speculation out of the air. Donna says, yes, the hate has to stop. It accomplishes nothing. I totally agree, Donna. Thank God for the dictionary. Amen to that, Mike. Reagan said, it's not that liberals know nothing. It's just that what they know is wrong. I loved Reagan. I know. I really did. I never heard him say that. I always thought he was I don't know. I always thought he was just so respectful. Not trying to make this political. It goes both ways sometimes. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. But I think the one thing that what's going on with the liberals right now, and maybe they feel justified because they do have people that are really more attacking others, is that we're not smart enough to take care of ourselves. And I say that meaning the whole voting thing. Melanie, I think it was brilliant. Put the voting polls in Walmart. Put them in Walmart. Station the people there. We're allowed in Walmart already. Just stick the polling places in Walmart and Target. Maybe CVS, the other places that they've allowed to be open and that we're allowing them to do the drive-through stations. Pick Kaiser. I got to tell you, I was at Kaiser today. I had to have this allergy test done, and holy Toledo. There's, they're directing traffic 6 feet apart, not letting you move, taking your picture before you go into the building. You got to have an appointment, or what? Let them do the polling, man. Nobody will get 6 feet apart because Bertha will smack you next week. Okay, I'm totally joking. But guys, totally appreciate each and every one of you. If you're not following me, I hope you guys will do a girl a solid and give me a follow. I'm also going to put my website in here, VickiFitch.com. Go to the website and make sure that you follow the social channels. Because like I said, I got not just on Facebook, just go to my website and sign up for my newsletter. That way we can stay connected in case that I get blacklisted again, because it could happen. So I appreciate you guys. In New Jersey, public restrooms are open, but can't get a haircut. Right? I mean, come on now. Did you guys know, because I am a licensed manicurist, that we have to go through sanitation training. You have to learn sanitization, like how to do it. Everything has to, we have way more training than most people do, and yet the hairdressers can't be open. I don't know, right? So guys, I appreciate you. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. I hope you guys will be here tomorrow night, typically at 6 p.m. Pacific. Until next time, I want to remind you, like I always do, to dream it, believe it, and achieve it. Ciao. See you guys later. And tag a friend.